Have you ever noticed how, as the years go by, life begins to feel heavier? It's not the kind of weight you see in the mirror, but the invisible kind. The weight of memories that linger, of regrets that whisper in the quiet hours, of the ache that comes from things left undone. We spend decades collecting experiences, people, and dreams, believing that each new addition will complete us. Yet somewhere along the way, we begin to realize that peace doesn't come from adding more. It comes from learning to let go. Buddhism teaches that aging isn't a punishment, it's an awakening. It's life's gentle invitation to shed the illusions we've held onto for too long. The illusion of control, the need to prove ourselves, the attachment to what was. What we often call getting old is, in truth, the soul returning home, to simplicity, to stillness, to a peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. Think for a moment about how much lighter your heart would feel if you stopped carrying everything that no longer belongs to you. Every regret, every what if, every expectation that was never met. These are the stones we've been unknowingly placing in our pockets. And the moment we begin to set them down, something beautiful happens. The air feels clearer, the heart breathes again. We start to see that impermanence, the very thing we once feared, is not our enemy, but our greatest teacher. Everything in life changes. Nothing stays forever. But the moment we accept this truth, the struggle softens. We begin to understand that what we release releases us. So before we go any further, take a breath. Ask yourself, what if happiness in your later years has nothing to do with adding more, and everything to do with releasing what you were never meant to keep? Because the art of lightening the heart begins right here, in the quiet courage to let go. Truth 1. Let go of the illusion of control. We spend much of our lives believing that if we just try hard enough, we can keep everything in order. Our health, our relationships, our children, our future. We plan, we worry, we adjust, and we strive, thinking control is the key to safety. But no matter how tightly we hold on, life always finds a way to remind us that it was never fully ours to command. The truth is both simple and humbling. We are travelers, not architects of the universe. Buddhism teaches that the need to control is one of the deepest roots of human suffering. When we cling too tightly to outcomes, we create tension, fear, and disappointment. We resist the natural rhythm of existence, and in doing so, we exhaust ourselves. The Buddha's wisdom invites us to surrender, not in weakness, but in trust. To surrender means to open our hands and allow life to move as it must. It's not about giving up. It's about letting go of the impossible task of controlling what was never meant to be controlled. When we stop trying to fix everything, something powerful happens. Peace enters quietly, like dawn breaking after a long night. You begin to see that life doesn't need to be managed at every turn. It unfolds on its own, just as rivers find their way to the sea without effort. The wise learn to flow with life, not against it. They understand that when you stop forcing, life starts guiding. Imagine water moving around rocks in a stream. It doesn't fight the obstacle, it simply finds a new path, smooth and effortless. The same is true for peace. When you accept what is, when you stop arguing with reality, life becomes softer. You begin to see beauty, even in what doesn't go as planned. Control was never freedom. Acceptance is. So, take a moment and breathe. Ask yourself, what are you still trying to control? The more you loosen your grip, the lighter you become. And as you learn to let go, you'll discover something profound. Life doesn't fall apart when you stop controlling it. It finally starts to flow. Truth 2. Let go of past regrets. There are moments in life when the past feels like a shadow that follows us everywhere we go. We replay old memories, conversations, and choices. The things we said but wish we hadn't. The chances we missed. The people we lost. As the years pass, those echoes grow louder, and we find ourselves asking, what if I had done things differently? But no matter how much we revisit the past, it never changes. The past cannot be rewritten. It can only be understood. Buddhism teaches that regret is one of the subtlest forms of attachment. When we hold on to guilt or sadness, we tie our hearts to something that no longer exists. We keep trying to breathe life into what has already passed. But the truth is, every moment that has ended is already complete. It has given you its lesson, and it's asking to be released. To keep carrying it is to walk with ghosts. In the light of Buddhist wisdom, each breath we take is a new beginning. Every inhale says, "You are still here." Every exhale whispers, "You can start again." The present moment is the only place where healing can occur. Not yesterday, not someday, but right now. The path forward begins when you stop punishing yourself for being human. Forgive yourself, not because you are flawless, but because you are evolving. Every mistake you've made has shaped the depth of your compassion. Every sorrow has softened your heart. Life is not asking you to be perfect. It's asking you to be awake. And awakening begins with the courage to forgive the person you used to be. Think of your life as a garden. Some plants have withered, others still bloom. But if you spend all your time mourning what has died, you'll miss the flowers still reaching toward the sun. The past was never meant to be a prison. It was a teacher. And once the lesson is learned, you can let the memory go with gratitude, not bitterness. So take a deep breath. Whatever haunts you, the choices, the words, the roads you didn't take, allow them to rest. You have paid the price of learning. You've grown through what you've endured. The Buddha once said, "Each morning we are born again." What we do today matters most. The past has no power here unless you keep feeding it. Let go of regret, and you will feel the incredible lightness that comes with forgiveness. It's not the world that frees you. It's your own heart finally releasing the weight of what no longer needs to be carried. Truth 3. Let go of the need to be needed. For much of life, we define ourselves by what we do, by our responsibilities, our achievements, and the people who depend on us. When we are younger, our days revolve around being useful, raising children, building careers, supporting loved ones, and keeping everything in motion. It feels good to be needed. It gives us direction, meaning, and a sense of importance. But as the years pass, the world around us changes. The children grow up, work slows down, and the roles we once played begin to fade. And suddenly, many people find themselves asking, "Who am I if I am no longer needed?" This question often brings quiet suffering, but in Buddhist wisdom, it is a sacred doorway, an opening to a deeper kind of peace. You see, the need to be needed is another form of attachment, not to things, but to identity. We cling to our usefulness because we've mistaken it for worth. Yet the truth is this: your value has never depended on how much you do, but on who you are when you are simply being. The Buddha often used the image of the lotus, a flower that blooms unstained from the mud. The lotus doesn't bloom to prove itself or to be admired. It blooms because that is its nature. In the same way, your existence doesn't need justification. You don't have to perform to be worthy of love, peace, or belonging. Just being alive, breathing, observing, awakening is enough. As you grow older, life invites you to rest in presence, not performance, to shift from doing to being. This doesn't mean you stop helping others. It means you stop defining yourself by it. When you no longer measure your worth through usefulness, you begin to experience something profound, unconditional peace. You start to notice beauty in the smallest things. The sound of wind through leaves, the warmth of sunlight on your face, the simple joy of being part of the present moment. Letting go of the need to be needed doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you begin to love without conditions, without the pressure to be someone's provider, savior, or solution. You realize that your mere presence, your calm awareness, your gentle spirit, they are enough. So take this as an invitation to rest, not in what you do, but in what you are. The world doesn't need you to constantly fix or prove yourself. It simply needs you to be fully and peacefully. The lotus doesn't try. It just opens when it's ready. And maybe it's time for you to do the same. To bloom without needing a reason. Truth 4. Let go of attachment to identity. Throughout our lives, we build stories about who we are. We say, I am a teacher, I am a mother, I am a leader, or I am a strong person. These identities give structure to our lives. They guide our choices, shape our interactions, and help us feel a sense of belonging in the world. But over time, these same identities can also become cages. We become so attached to the idea of who we are supposed to be that we forget the simple truth of who we already are. Buddhism teaches that all identities are like robes we wear for a moment in time, useful, beautiful even, but not eternal. They serve their purpose, and eventually, they fall away. The Buddha often compared human life to a play. We come to the stage, play our part, and then exit gracefully. The tragedy is that many of us mistake the costume for the actor. We cling to our roles, the parent, the achiever, the helper, as if losing them means losing ourselves. But when life changes, when the roles fade and the titles no longer define us, we begin to feel empty. That emptiness, however, is not a loss. It's an opening. Imagine an actor who forgets he is acting. He becomes so immersed in the role that he suffers when the play ends. In the same way, when we over-identify with our social masks, we lose sight of the vast awareness that exists beneath them, the true self that is untouched by labels. This is what the Buddha called anatta, or no fixed self. It doesn't mean you are nothing. It means you are not limited to anything, not your job, not your reputation, not even your story. When you let go of who you think you are, you begin to discover something extraordinary, a calm, open presence that simply is. It's the awareness that watches your thoughts, your emotions, your successes, and your failures without judgment. That awareness is not young or old, not successful or struggling, not praised or forgotten. It is timeless. It is the part of you that was there before your first memory and will remain long after the roles have dissolved. This realization is not abstract. It changes how you live. When you're no longer driven by the need to defend an identity, you move through life with greater peace and humility. You no longer need to prove anything to anyone. The teacher who retires still has wisdom to share. The parent whose children have grown still has love to give. The person who is no longer strong in body may still radiate great strength of spirit. You see, the essence of who you are was never dependent on your title. It was always rooted in your being. To practice this wisdom, start by observing the small ways you cling to identity in daily life. Notice when you say, I must do this because it's what people expect of me. Or, if I can't do this anymore, who will I be? When those thoughts arise, pause. Breathe deeply. Ask yourself, who is the one aware of this thought? In that quiet awareness, you will feel something deeper, a sense of spaciousness that cannot be taken away. Meditation helps dissolve these attachments gently. When you sit in stillness, watching your thoughts and emotions come and go, you begin to see that you are not any of them. You are the space in which they arise. As that realization deepens, life becomes lighter. You stop clinging to who you were yesterday, and you stop fearing who you might become tomorrow. You live in the freedom of the present moment, the only place where the true self can be found. Think of a lotus flower. It doesn't bloom to prove it's a lotus. It doesn't struggle to maintain its beauty. It simply unfolds, resting in the truth of its nature. You too are like that. You don't need to perform or cling to any title. The peace you seek is found not in adding more layers to your identity, but in peeling them away. When you release your attachment to roles and names, you rediscover something profound. Your essence. It is still. It is spacious. It is eternal. Beneath all the changing forms of life, you are pure awareness, radiant, silent, and free. And in that freedom lies the deepest peace you will ever know. Truth 5. Let go of the fear of death. Among all human fears, the fear of death is perhaps the most powerful and the most misunderstood. It hides beneath our ambitions, our attachments, and even our daily worries. The thought of losing control, of disappearing into the unknown, shakes the very foundation of our identity. We cling to youth, success, and possessions as if they can protect us from impermanence. But the truth is, death is not something that comes at the end of life. It is woven into every moment we live. Buddhism teaches that the fear of death is not really a fear of dying. It's a fear of losing what we think we control. We fear the loss of identity, the end of stories we've written about ourselves. Yet, as the Buddha revealed, everything that arises must also fade. The leaf that falls returns to the soil, and from that soil, new life grows. Death is not an interruption in the cycle. It is the cycle. When we understand this, death becomes not an enemy, but a teacher. The Buddha called death the great teacher because it reveals the truth of impermanence in its purest form. It strips away illusion. It reminds us that nothing, not wealth, not fame, not even relationships, can be held forever. In this understanding, there is profound freedom. When you stop resisting the reality of death, you stop resisting life itself. You begin to live with greater awareness, greater compassion, and deeper gratitude. Imagine the rhythm of the ocean. Each wave rises, crests, and falls, only to merge back into the sea. None of the waves are lost. They simply return to their source. In the same way, death is not the disappearance of life. It is the return to the vast ocean of existence. What we call I is just a temporary wave on that infinite sea. And when the wave dissolves, the water does not mourn. It simply continues to flow. This understanding transforms fear into reverence. Instead of seeing death as a thief, we begin to see it as a silent friend, a reminder that time is precious, that every breath is a gift, and that nothing should be taken for granted. The awareness of death doesn't make life darker, it makes life more luminous. When we accept that each day could be our last, we stop wasting time on resentment and regret. We learn to forgive quickly, to love more deeply, to speak more kindly. Many Buddhist monks meditate in graveyards not to be morbid, but to wake up. Sitting among bones and ashes, they contemplate the truth that all forms pass away. Yet in that stillness, they find peace, not despair. Because when you no longer resist death, you begin to live without fear. You discover that your essence, the awareness that observes life and death alike, is untouched. When we fear death, we live half a life. We avoid risks, silence our dreams, and cling to routines. But when we accept death as a natural part of existence, we live fully. Each sunrise becomes a miracle, each encounter a blessing. Death, then, is not something to be defeated. It is something to be understood. It whispers to us, don't wait to live. In Buddhist philosophy, death is simply a transformation, a shift from one form to another, like a flame passing from one candle to the next. Your body may dissolve, but consciousness, like energy, continues in another form. Knowing this, you can face life with calm strength. The goal is not to escape death, but to meet it with a serene heart. So the next time fear of death visits your mind, don't turn away. Sit with it. Breathe with it. Ask what it wants to teach you. You may find that beneath the fear lies a gentle truth, that everything changes, and that this impermanence is not a curse, but the very reason life is beautiful. In the end, peace comes when we no longer see death as a thief, but as a quiet friend, one who walks beside us every day, reminding us to live fully, love deeply, and let go gently. When you accept death, you do not lose life. You finally begin to live it. Truth 6. Let go of material attachments. As the years pass, something subtle begins to happen. The things that once excited us, the new car, the bigger home, the shiny possessions, begin to lose their magic. What once felt like symbols of success start to feel like heavy luggage we carry through life. With age and wisdom, we begin to realize that possessions don't just fill our homes. They can quietly fill our minds too. Buddhism reminds us that attachment to material things is one of the great sources of human suffering. Not because things themselves are bad, but because of how tightly we cling to them. The Buddha once said, "The root of suffering is attachment." When we believe that happiness depends on what we own, we hand over our peace to things that can be lost, stolen, or broken. The Dharma gently teaches that what we own often ends up owning us, our attention, our time, our energy. Think of the last time you bought something you really wanted. For a while, it felt amazing. You may have felt more confident, more complete, more alive, but slowly, that thrill faded. The object became just another part of your daily life, and soon, your mind moved on to the next desire. This endless cycle, wanting, getting, and then wanting again, keeps us running in circles. The more we chase satisfaction through things, the further we drift from peace. True freedom begins the moment we realize that enough is already within us. When we stop measuring our worth by what we possess, we start to feel light again. The heart expands when it's not weighed down by constant craving. The ancient monks who wandered with nothing but a robe and a bowl weren't poor. They were rich in peace. Their happiness came not from ownership, but from freedom. In the modern world, simplicity can feel like rebellion. We're told that progress means more money, more possessions, more status. But Buddhist wisdom flips that idea entirely. Real progress means less clutter, less noise, less grasping. Simplicity is not a loss. It is liberation. When we let go of excess, what remains is clarity, a direct, unfiltered experience of life as it is. Look around your home and ask yourself, how much of this do I really need? What truly adds peace to my life, and what quietly drains it? Sometimes we keep things not for their use, but because they hold pieces of our identity. We keep the clothes we no longer wear because they remind us of who we used to be. We hold on to gifts out of guilt. We hoard items because they make us feel secure. But the more we cling, the less space we have to breathe. The Buddhist path invites us to let go, not out of denial, but out of love. When you release what you don't need, you make room for what truly matters. You begin to see beauty in simplicity, in a clear room, a quiet morning, a single cup of tea. Peace is not found in the abundance of things, but in the absence of wanting. When you need less, life gives you more peace, more space, more freedom. You start to notice the small miracles that were always there, the sound of rain, the smile of a stranger, the stillness between breaths. These are the treasures that no amount of money can buy. To practice this teaching, begin gently. Give away something you don't use but someone else might need. Clear a small corner of your home and make it a space for silence. Each act of letting go becomes an act of liberation, not just for your surroundings, but for your spirit. In the end, possessions are like sand. Try to grasp them tightly, and they slip through your fingers. But hold them lightly, and you can feel their texture without losing your peace. The goal is not to reject the world, but to live in it without being enslaved by it. The Buddha once said, "Contentment is the greatest wealth." When you live with that truth, even the simplest life becomes full. Letting go of material attachments doesn't take anything away from you. It gives you everything that truly matters: stillness, gratitude, and the quiet joy of being free. Truth 7. Let go of expectations of yourself and others. So much of our suffering in life doesn't come from what actually happens. It comes from what we expected to happen. We create invisible rules for the world, how people should behave, how life should unfold, how we should be by a certain age. And when reality refuses to follow those rules, we feel hurt, disappointed, or even betrayed. But this pain isn't born from the world. It's born from the mind that demands the world to be different. In our younger years, we chase dreams and goals, and those expectations drive us forward. But as we age, those same expectations can become a source of quiet suffering. We expect our children to make choices that mirror our values. We expect our bodies to remain strong. We expect our loved ones to understand us perfectly. We even expect ourselves to remain the same person we once were. Yet the Dharma teaches that life is a river. It's always moving, changing, flowing. The moment we try to freeze it, we suffer. The Buddha once said, "Blessed is he who expects nothing, for he shall never be disappointed." This is not a call to stop caring or to stop trying. It's an invitation to live in harmony with life as it is, rather than how we wish it to be. When we let go of expectations, we create space for acceptance. When we drop the script, we finally begin to see the beauty of the unscripted. Think of the sky. It doesn't demand the clouds to move in a certain way. It allows storms to come and go, sunsets to fade and return. The sky's peace comes from its openness. It embraces all things without resistance. In the same way, when we stop forcing life to meet our expectations, we return to a natural state of peace. Expectations of others often cause deep disappointment because people are not meant to live inside our imagined versions of them. We want others to act, love, or respond in ways that make us comfortable. But the truth is, everyone is walking their own path, shaped by their own karma and lessons. Let people be who they are. When you do, you free both them and yourself. Love becomes lighter, more real, more forgiving. The same applies to expectations of yourself. As we age, many of us carry quiet guilt, the things we didn't achieve, the dreams that faded, the mistakes that still echo in memory. But expecting perfection from yourself is another form of bondage. You are not the same person you were 10 years ago, and that's not a loss. It's a transformation. Every wrinkle, every scar, every grey hair tells the story of a soul that has lived, learned, and evolved. Instead of asking, "Why am I not who I used to be?" try asking, "Who am I becoming now?" When you release yourself from expectations, life becomes gentler. The pressure to always perform, to always be right, to always meet a standard, begins to fade. You realize that peace is not found in achieving, but in allowing. The mind grows quiet, and gratitude begins to bloom. Gratitude for what is, rather than resentment for what isn't. Buddhism teaches that expectations blind us to the gifts of the present moment. When you expect a sunset to look a certain way, you miss the beauty of how it actually unfolds. When you expect people to treat you in a specific manner, you overlook the kindness they do offer. The more you demand, the less you see. But when you let go, everything becomes a gift. The laughter, the silence, even the imperfections. To live without expectations doesn't mean living without direction. It means living with trust. Trust that life will unfold as it should. Trust that what leaves was never meant to stay, and what stays was never meant to leave. Trust that every event, joyful or painful, has its place in the great rhythm of existence. When you stop expecting, you begin receiving. Gratitude fills the space where disappointment once lived. You start appreciating people for who they are, not who you imagine them to be. You begin to see yourself as enough, right here, right now. In the end, letting go of expectations is an act of deep compassion, for yourself and for the world. It allows love to flow without condition and peace to rise without effort. When the mind stops demanding, the heart starts blooming. And in that quiet blooming, you find the calm you were seeking all along. The calm that comes not from control, but from surrender. Truth 8. Let go of resentment and bitterness. Every wound we hold onto becomes heavier with time. At first, resentment feels justified, a shield protecting us from pain. But as the years pass, that shield turns into armor, and that armor becomes a prison. The mind replays the hurt again and again, and the heart grows tight around the memory. The pain we once wanted to forget becomes the very thing we live with every day. Buddhism teaches that holding on to anger is like grasping a burning coal with the intent to throw it at someone else. We are the ones who get burned. Resentment poisons peace. It seeps into every thought, every conversation, every quiet moment. And yet, we cling to it because we think it gives us power. In truth, it drains our energy, our joy, our capacity to love. Forgiveness, in Buddhist wisdom, is not about pretending the past didn't happen. It's not about saying that what was done was right. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of carrying pain that no longer serves you. As Thich Nhat Hanh beautifully said, forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. When you forgive, you do not erase the past. You release its grip on your present. You stop letting old wounds dictate how you see the world. It's like removing a thorn from your foot. You can finally walk again without pain. The act of forgiveness is the act of reclaiming your inner freedom. Many people fear that forgiving means being weak or allowing injustice to stand. But forgiveness is not surrender. It's strength. It takes great courage to say, I will not carry this pain any longer. When you choose forgiveness, you are not saying, you were right. You are saying, I choose peace over poison. Resentment is often rooted in the illusion of fairness, the belief that life should have unfolded differently. But life is not always fair, and clinging to that idea keeps us stuck in suffering. The Buddha taught that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Pain comes from life. Suffering comes from resistance. When we release resistance, even the deepest wounds can begin to heal. Picture a river flowing through a valley. If you build a dam, the water stagnates, becoming dark and heavy. But when you open the gates, the water flows freely again, clear, alive, and full of movement. The same is true for the heart. Bitterness blocks the flow of compassion. Forgiveness opens it. The moment you let go, peace begins to move through you like fresh water. Forgiveness is not always instant. Sometimes it's a slow unfolding, a daily decision to release just a little more of the story. And that's okay. Each breath of release brings you closer to freedom. Meditation can help with this. When painful memories arise, don't fight them. Observe them gently as you would watch clouds drift across the sky. Whisper to yourself, this moment is new. I am not my past. It's also important to forgive yourself. The mind can be harsh, replaying regrets, mistakes, and what-ifs. But remember, every version of you was doing the best they could with the understanding they had. Forgiving yourself is not indulgence, it is wisdom. It means recognizing that guilt cannot change the past, but compassion can change the present. As you release resentment, something beautiful begins to happen. The heart becomes light. The same heart that once carried pain begins to float. You laugh more easily. You love more freely. You start seeing others not through the lens of what they did wrong, but through the lens of shared humanity. We are all imperfect beings, stumbling toward understanding. In the end, forgiveness is not a gift you give to others. It's a gift you give to yourself. It is the path back to peace, to clarity, to love. The more you forgive, the more spacious your heart becomes. And in that space, you rediscover what was always there. Your own lightness, your own freedom, your own joy. So let go of resentment and bitterness, not because the past disappears, but because you deserve to move forward, unburdened. The past has done its teaching. Now it's time to be free. Letting go is often misunderstood. Many believe it means surrendering, losing control, or giving up on what matters. But in truth, letting go is one of the highest forms of spiritual maturity. It's the quiet recognition that holding on to pain, fear, or the past only weighs down the soul. When we release the need to control everything, we don't fall apart, we fall into peace. As life unfolds, we begin to see that every ending hides a gentle beginning. Each act of release opens a door to something purer, a deeper stillness, a clearer awareness, a softer heart. Just as the sky is revealed when clouds drift away, our inner clarity returns when we stop clinging to what was. The more we let go, the lighter our being becomes, until peace is no longer something we chase, it's what we naturally are. Old age, then, is not a decline, but a sacred homecoming. It is the soul's return to simplicity, to love without conditions, and to wisdom without struggle. The more we release, the more we realize that nothing real is ever lost. Letting go isn't the end of living. It's the beginning of truly being alive. If this message touched your heart, take a deep breath and let something go today, no matter how small. Each release brings you closer to peace. And if you found calm or clarity in these words, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more Buddhist wisdom, and share it with someone who might need a little light on their path.